I like first base because I think it's a real debatable position, right? Like
Yes.
you look at the top. First of all, we all know
There's one clear
Goldschmidt's
top.
Like Goldschmidt's the best in the division. Like that's not debatable. And Carlos Santana, while a veteran and good, I mean, he's got to be the bottom. I'm not saying he couldn't move up on the list this season, but I think he's 36.
Yeah, it's him or Jimon Choi, right?
Where was he? Royals and somewhere else last year.
Seattle,
that's where it was.
Yeah.
So
I think
Jimon Choi to put him at the bottom, but he's not that much below everybody else.
I was gonna say like they get a little bit of boost because Jimon Choi's nickname is apparently G Money, and that's an awesome nickname. But yeah, I think those are your one, like Goldschmidt at 1, and then whatever combination the Pirates roll out there is probably 5th. I agree.
I feel a little disrespected for ourselves because I feel like you got to throw Mervis on there because eventually he's going to be there at some point.
So it should say Haas, Mance, Mash.
Yeah. We got to put Mervis on. He's going to be on the team at some point.
But he won't. But he won't start the season on the team.
No,
I mean, I get that. I get
2 through 5, whether it's Rowdy Tellez, Joey Votto, who's going to 39 this year,
coming off
Hosmer,
surgery,
Mancini,
right?
Mash, and Santana. I'll be honest with you, 2 for 5 are totally interchangeable, and anything could happen in that group. Like, do I feel great about the Brewers having number 2? I personally can't do it. If it was just my list, I would put Joey Votto number 2 because he's a future Hall of Famer. He only played 90 games last year. He was hurt and he had a down season. So I'm not gonna go be down on him because he's 39 and he had a hurt season when he was 38.
My thing is he's coming off a torn labrum. He's coming off a torn labrum surgery,
I know.
Right? Like that's pretty big, especially at 39 years old.
But defensively, he's way better than Rowdy. I mean, like that's
sure, yeah.
I mean, he's obviously a better.
I mean,
career.
he wasn't great defensively last year either, though. That's
once in the chat, Brendan said that he had Tellez on his fantasy team and that he was getting benched, and that reminded me he was getting benched late in the season against lefties, and I thought, well, I can't move Joey Votto down for a guy that can't even face one type of batter. So I personally would leave him at Joey Votto 2nd, but in reality, 2 through 5. Roll the dice. Who's got the next best after Goldschmidt? It's a roll the dice in the division.
I mean, I think right now where we have him is like fair, but like you said, like it's such a behind Goldschmidt. Everyone's so close together that like Mancini and Hosmer could easily be number 2 like a week into the season. Like
if we're doing the list based off what have you done for me lately, I'd honestly put Votto at 4. If we're doing it. Like, what have you done for me lately? If we're going by Delmetrics, as Kevin is showing us, Paul Goldschmidt's the worst first baseman in the NL Central, and it's not even close.
He's gonna be worn out by the World Baseball Classic.
All this stuff you guys are saying. I mean, if you look at it through Delmetrics, I mean, I'm feeling great about the Cubs at first base.
Did you see his quote saying the World Baseball Classic is the most exciting baseball he's ever played?
I thought that was
wasn't it Goldschmidt? And then somebody said, yeah, because that was another
Wainwright.
word for
someone tweeted it.
Oh, it was Wainwright.
Yeah.
Said St. Louis is boring.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The graphic saying this is the most exciting baseball I've ever played or something, and the guy who tweeted at us said, in other words, St. Louis is boring. Shout out. I think his name was Ron. Shout out to him. But on the real, when you don't use Delmetrics, because I know not everyone likes to use Delmetrics. It's not on Fangraphs, unfortunately. It's not on Baseball Reference. It should be. I've been in the petition trying to get it on there, but these old heads don't want to listen to me. Paul Goldschmidt, number 1, obviously, and then I would probably, if again based off what have you done for me lately, I'd probably put Tellez at 2, and then I think to start the year you'll see a lot of Hosmer at first, but we're not sure if Hosmer will be with the Cubs all season. So I think Mancini could be there, and I'm throwing Mervis on the list anyway because I know he's gonna be on the team soon. And so I'll put those three at 3 and Votto at 4. Because again, based off what have you done for me lately, and then Santana 5. But I do think Santana is a nice signing for the Pirates.
Yeah,
they will be a lot more competitive this year. I don't think they're going to be an easy. They're not going to be an easy out. They have a lot of talent on that team, as far as like, potential. But yeah, he's still number 5.
It's all veteran first basemen. Some that have struggled and are trying to hang on to their career. Some of them are still at the peak of their career pretty much. But when you look at, just look at Mancini was pretty productive last year until he got to Houston, right? When he really struggled, but he was having a productive year. I could see the Cubs being as high as number 2 on the list, and it wouldn't shock me if they fell and plummeted all the way to the bottom. But I think it's more likely that they'd be in the number 2 spot by the end of the season than it is that they'd be in the 5 spot. Just not impossible. Yeah. Just not impossible.
I think there's reasonable optimism to see the Cubs be at least in the top, legitly be in the top 2 for first baseman in the division by the end of the year. I think there's reasonable optimism for that.
I don't remember where we had him last year with Schwindel, but
3.
It was probably unrealistic. The Cubs are better off at first base.
He was coming off that hot second half, baby. We were riding high on the Schwindel baby.
They're better off at first base going into the season. No offense.
No question.
Yeah, and it's also the point where Goldschmidt's this MVP caliber player. Or at least he's coming off an MVP caliber season. Was he MVP? He was MVP last year, right? Yeah. So he's an MVP. Rowdy Tellez is not that. Rowdy Tellez is a fine player, but he's not. If you're just talking about straight up ranking first base for the division, he's definitely not someone the Cubs, whatever makes of Hosmer, Mancini, Mervis eventually if he comes up. The Cubs aren't there's no reason they can't kind of jump him in that ranking as far as positional groups go. So I think there is a long, long way to go before any of these teams can jump the Cardinals. But as far as that number 2 spot, I think as far as the number 2 spot, the Cubs have a shot. And right here, we've been talking about it, how the Cardinals are kind of the class of the division right now. And the Brewers, it may be the Brewers probably number 2, but the Cubs aren't far behind. And it kind of feels the same way as far as how we're ranking these positions right now. It's the Brewers aren't an uncatchable team right now for the Cubs.